Smells like up dogs. What's up, dogs? If you're coming from my 50mm review, welcome back. If you're not, shame on you. Now look, both good, both favorites, but if you can only pick one, gun to the head, which is it going to be? Or is it possible to skip both? I am in 35 gang. One of the biggest reasons for me was the versatility of the 35mm. 35mm is wide enough to make it usable for landscapes and astro without being so wide that you could never fire off a portrait. Obviously, the 50mm is going to be better for shooting people and isolating things from your background. But as far as framing, go ahead and crop in on those people when you shoot with a 35, especially if you're only going to be posting those pictures to Instagram. If you are making videos for the YouTube, 50 will look great and track well, but keep in mind you'll need more space to include your background. When I first started, I was struggling to frame things in the corner of my bedroom until I got the EFS 17-55 zoom lens, which is a 27 to 88mm equivalent focus distance. In an early deal breaker round, how closely do you need to focus? I shoot coffee and some relatively small products, and I like the option to focus close both for detail and to be able to shoot some creative angles. The 50mm focuses at 1 foot and the 35 at half a foot. So here's the same shot as close as I could focus for each. If you want the ability to get in close, the 35mm wins this round. Stabilization, I don't know. This might matter a little or it might matter a lot. Are you a photo first shooter? If so, you probably won't miss it a ton on the 50 because that f1.8 is going to allow you to get plenty of light, and when needed, you can crank the ISO, even if you're shooting on the RP. Now, if you're shooting handheld video, you probably want to go with the R5, and I imagine most handheld video shooters would agree, though I don't do a ton of that yet myself. I'll hold off on the stern recommendation on this front, but I think for video first shooters, the 35 is probably your best bet. And for paid work, kind of a throwback to the versatility for me, I end up shooting about 80% of my paid work with this lens, so it would be difficult to imagine opting with the 50 over this if I could only pick one, despite how much I might appreciate having only this super lightweight 50 attached to the RP for just trekking around. Now, the argument for the 50 is also strong, it's just that it's 4 different reasons and potentially 4 different shooters. The RF 35mm is twice as heavy, extends 50% more, and is 1.5 times the cost. So you would want to pick up the 50mm first if A, you are all about a lightweight kit over everything. The 50 is hard to beat. I mentioned this in my 50mm review, but there were multiple times where I left the house thinking that I had forgotten a battery in my RP when I had the 50mm attached. It's just so damn light and compact. You're not going to be choosing between build quality and weather sealing with the 35. It's built about the same. But again, that quirk to note is that you only have one ring for both focus and function, as opposed to the dedicated function ring and focus ring on the 35. B, you shoot or plan to shoot people over everything. This 50 is just going to be a nicer looking and more comfortable focal length for taking portraits, especially if you're focusing on headshots. The 35 will allow you to show subjects in their environments, but it's gonna be harder to get that background separation, and you're gonna have to get right up in people's grill. Or C, go with the 50 if you are on a strict budget. If you've got a strict $1,200 limit, then grab the RP and the 50mm, find your local friends with the most horrific and outdated LinkedIn profile pics and say, dog, I'm gonna make you beautiful, I'm gonna charge you $25 for the privilege, and you're gonna like it. And then in no time at all, you can save up a little bit and then pick up your 35mm next. There is a loophole. You could skip both. It will cost considerably more, but if you don't care about having the f1.8 and still want a great value lens, you could pick up the 24-105, shoot 35, 50, everything in between, and plenty beyond.